Alright, so that sea hag was kind of rough there, huh? I want to talk about the build here. Did some updates to the previous poison evade I was doing here. We're able to do 80s pretty okay. Still not as fast as I'd like to be, but with the right rolls on gear, master working and all that, we can get there, I think. Probably be able to do hundreds. I don't know how efficient it is, but it is doable. I think actually this is better off staying Fell Soothsayer. Yeah, because if the boss has ads there, that's going to help a lot. The thing is, this build is using, the main reason we're popping off with this build is we're using Noxious Resonance. So I'm going to go down here to the training area, actually, real quick. Give me a second. All right, so basically, the reason why we're doing so much damage here is from our boss power. We're not using, like, Quill Volley or anything like that. There is no Quill Volley, Return of Quill Volley. It's all from the boss powers this season. And the best way for the Spiritborn to juice that boss power is by using Noxious Resonance here. As you can see, we already have a 1.5 multiplier to our Poison Burst right here, okay? Now, as far as boss powers go, we can use other boss powers, sure. If you're farming like T4, go for it. But if you're pushing high pits, you're going to want to simply use Ashava's Poison Breath. It is what it is. This is like the only main poisoning power to use here. We're using it here. We're buffing it a little bit with Endariel's modifier. It's giving us 40x multiplier to burning damage, which we are doing because every time we activate the main boss power, all our other attacks burn enemies. So that's how we're burning enemies. 40x multiplier. We're using Kerma Sparks here to get evade cooldown. Now, here's the challenge. If my gear was a bit better, like if I had maybe more evade cooldown, higher cooldown on the Shaco, I might be able just to pull this off, right? Get rid of the Kermas and throw in another multiplier like Skirks, or not Skirks, but Sign Rats, for example. Something else in there. We're using Avarice's Explosive Ore to get a 3.4 per resource spent modifier towards our main boss power. Every time this activates, it's going to deplete all of our resource. We're at 360 right now. You can actually get like so much higher than this. I've seen like 500 plus. There's skills you can use to increase your resource, things like that. But for speedy type things, I'm just sticking with evade. People are using Quill Volley right now. There's probably things here like, let's see here. Where's a resource if we can even find it? There's no resources there. What am I looking for exactly? There we go. Yeah, okay, so basically you look for like max resource type of things here. Like maybe even using this might be a better idea too, but I'm getting plenty of resource back. What do we have here? Core skill. Yeah, it's about all we can do there for resource. Getting that off the skill tree at least. Maybe more Paragon boards. By the way, I am keeping 50 points off to replicate a 250 level. It's a little colluded still because we have 100 glyph levels, so keep that in mind. But back to this here. The Noxious Resonance is buffing our Ashava's power here. The Spirit Hall, we're using Centipede with Jaguar here, get our Ferocity stacks up. Even though, like, the Ferocity isn't damaging or buffing our main boss power, it's still good to have for other skills. It still helps. Abilities here, go over the skill tree. We're evading, so we're going to be using Accelerated Thunder Spike. This makes enemies vuln when you evade through them, so make sure you use this. That's how we get enemies vuln most of the time. We're also using like velocity to get this more resource gen while moving. I'm not sure it matters that much, but it helps. Max out Apex, max out Unrestrained. Max out Ravager. We want to get 15 ranks here. The reason why at rank 15 we get max ferocity 5. So try to get 15 if we can here. We're going to max out Endurance. We're going to max out Armored Hide with Adaptable. We want to be doing some Thorns damage. Actually, I think I'm keeping it adaptable for now. Max out Auspicious. Max out Nourishment. This is what's buffing our boss power, though, because it says poisoning damage is increased. Put some into Scourge here. Reinforced. I might take some out of some... Get more poison damage in Scourge or something. It's still work in progress here, but... it is what it is for now. Nothing in this tree here. It looks... Oh, yeah, we do actually have Furnace. My bad. Max this out. Jaguar skills deal increased crit strike damage per stack of ferocity. We are using our ult a lot, you know, so that's kind of why I like to keep it in there. With the ult, it is also centipede skill, so it does poison damage, so the ult can pop off alone. It is quite a bit of damage, so that's why I keep that in there for the Furnace, at least down here. Final tree here, we're going to be taking in... Oh, whoa. What's going on? Final tree down here, we're taking in Hunter. Let's see here. Yeah, we do max this out. Make sure we take Exalted to get the cooldown. We're maxing out... Let's see, it's actually not maxed out. Maxed out Resolution. Maxed out Spiritual. Maxed out Supremacy. Do what you can with Initiative and Intricacy, because these do help. Sustenance is eh. And we're using Noxious Resonance. I'll show you here when we cast a Armored Hide here, we gain 100% block chance. So with our Redirected Force aspect here on the two-hander, it increases our crit strike damage equal to 140x of block chance. So let's see what this does here. Blocking doubles that too. It can get a bit higher, but basically when we cast our Armored Hide, goes up to 3.2. It gets much higher than that. I've seen like 4,000, 5,000. Like everything all active here. Get there fast enough? Yeah, no way. You can really juice Noxious Resonance is the point, though. I've seen 5,000 plus on this, and you can really pop off with it. So maybe pushing, 150s eventually. Yeah, you do want to go for maybe more of a less evade. How do you boost this type of thing? But for now, for speeds, for T4s, speed like 60s, 80s, hopefully, eventually, that's fine there. For Paragons here, we're going to be using Fitness for the starter board here. We have Revenge with Vicious Shield. We're using Revenge here because it gives us the most crit damage along with Multiplier in the middle there. So we could be using like Hubris instead, right? So if we look at it, we pick up Hubris, it's currently giving us 130 crit damage. We use Hubris, it gives us 147, so we're getting like a little more. But then what is our additional bonus, right? We're missing a multiplier now. So I think it's better to have, where was that? Outmatch? No. Yes, Revenge. Put Revenge in there. Okay, we get that rare node bonus. Now, when we deal Thorns damage, they take a 15x multiplier. So we're getting an additional 15x here from Revenge, and we're doing Thorns because when we activate Armored Hide, we evade through enemies and do Thorns damage to them. So they are now getting that multiplier. Hopefully. And then the third board, I pick up this right here. I just pick up the glyph for Bane real quick. This is the revealing board, but I don't finish this until I go around here. Take up Bane here. This is for poison damage. I also can give a chance to deal double the amount. And then for the fourth board, we're going to go with Spirit for the glyph. This is for crit strike damage here. And then the board is Convergence. 30x here, damage boost. Let's see here. Fifth and final board is using Hone for a glyph, and the board is Sapping. 30x multiplier here, basically we're always casting 3 in a row type of thing. So this is going to be for crit strike damage multiplier. Also, we're using Jaguar skills, so it gets our crit chance up a bit. Probably better options to be using. Still playing around with it, but this is it for now. And then Revealing down here. We just work our way down through here and pick up Revealing here. What am I missing? I think that's about it. The mercs are kind of up to you. I'm using Bloodshed, Subo for the map pack. That's about it. It does give you a 25x increased critical strike damage to enemies hit. So that's kind of a bonus, but I'm using right here in reinforcement. He's going to be knocking people down for me with Ground Slam every time I do ult. Oh yeah, the items. So weapon here is using redirected force. Again, all this can be a lot better and even maybe different stats. This is what I'm doing for now, using Furnace Temper with crit strike damage. Ideally, you do want this to be a quarterstaff because that does give the implicit for blocking, but I ain't got the time for that. I was checking out this too. This is not bad. This was working. This is definitely like an option here. The Shattered Vow, by the way, guys. So check that out. It's kind of interesting. I'll play around with it here. Getting big numbers here with Shattered Vow, so it's usable if you got one. We're using Apprehension on the boots. We want Ravager on the boots to get our ranks to Ravager up here to rank 15 if we can. We're using Evade cooldown, obviously, with Barrier Gen. Pants, we have Dex. The Thorns is just kind of on there. I'm not spending hours on PTR to reroll, so this is what I get. I got the Barrier Gen. I'm happy with it. We got Armor to get us past the armor cap. And we're using Duelist for the aspect. We're using Sem Cry to use Vortex. If you like, sometimes I'll throw in like a Jaw for T4, for example. I use just Jaw Rune. Bossing, I'll throw in like an So definitely throw in there. You can just do this, by the way. You don't have to go to the jeweler anymore. Good job, Blizzard. Nice change. Oops. And then for the gloves, we're using Vehement Brawlers with crit strike damage, dex, and all res with Barrier Gen, crit strike damage tempers. Our resistances, by the way, are about capped. It's good enough for me. Using Shroud here with Back Lum to get primary resource when we travel 5 meters. We want to be getting our resource back as much as possible because our main boss power is going to be spending all of it every time it activates. Using a Shaco up here to get the max resource stat. That is huge, actually. The armor stat's huge. Cooldown's huge. +4 cool. 20% DR is huge. I think this is the helm for the build. If you're not using Evade, probably go for like an Error Perdition or even like maybe an Andes I've seen, but you can play around with that too. If you're, by the way, if you are lacking resistances, just throw in materials. It works fine. We're using Barrier Gen gems, by the way. Amulet, we have Lokran's Talisman. You can just use like a another maybe legendary here, like I have this one with resource and armor, things like that. Just make sure you temper like crit strike damage if you can. Creeping Death is not a bad aspect either. I just don't know if I like it over everything else. Using that for now. We're using Lorkrins here basically because each point of primary resource above 100 grants skills 0.2x crit strike damage instead. And it gives us a bunch of crit strike damage as a stat, gives us max resource, gives us all res, it gives us +3 to all stats. It's not a bad amulet to use. Let's see. So by the way, like our boss power is not a skill, right? That's my mom calling me, lol. Our boss skill is not a power. Boss power is not a skill. So anything that says skill on it, you're not getting that buff. However, we're still doing a lot of poison damage. We still are juicing like our hunter with centipede. So we're still going to be doing a lot of poison with this massive bonus here. So it is still worth, we're not getting those massive billion hits, but it still is a lot of damage for this bonus alone here. Using Midday Hunt, this gives us max resource increased by 50%. It does also give us some back. We want to get nourishment here. That's really the only thing we care about on this ring is nourishment, unfortunately. Kind of a weird fucking ring, honestly. Maybe if Blizz gets us better stats, I don't know. But maybe missing something because there's lots of like healing buffs on Spiritborn, so maybe there is a secret with this ring here. And for this ring, we're using Fell Soothsayers. I'll swap out to like maybe Conceited, or you can throw on like Creeping Death, Bossing. I do have Poison Res on here. I do have to get some reses going, unfortunately, because I don't have them elsewhere, not on the boards. Once you do, you know, get Paragons higher, you can start filling out more res nodes, things like that. But I'm trying to replicate a Paragon 250 as much as possible. And then for the tempers, we have crit strike damage and casting ultimate. restores resource because, again, we want to be restoring resource as much as possible. Lots of people will be using, let's see here. Where's it at? Yeah, here we go. Midnight Sun's not a bad option. It gives you cooldown. You regain resource. It gives you counterattack's passive effect. What I'm curious about, I'm not sure if it gives you the bonus down here. It says counterattack passively increases your critical strike damage by 6%, right? Up to 30. Does that mean it's giving us that passive as well? Or is it just giving us the passive gain dodge chance? Because if it's giving us the passive gain dodge chance, I kind of don't care about that. Or do I? I don't know. Anyway, that's the build for now. It's still kind of a work in progress, but this is like the final day of PTR, so I did what I could. It got to like pit 80 to decent speed, 5 minutes, could be better. You want to be doing like at least like under 2 minutes, honestly, like a minute run for XP. If you're blasting XP, you want to be doing like 90-second less runs. But it works for now. It does T4 bossing, so. And it's not like absolute best stats either. I do have a couple of mythics, yes, some uniques. I do have good rolls, but it's not perfect, you know. So it's doable. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to comment. Peace.